Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, the man who would not let go, from bourgeois general to power's reluctant monarch. Born on August 15, 1944, in Ntungamo, southwestern Uganda, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni was destined for politics even before he knew it. His surname Museveni comes from the 7th Regiment of the King's African Rifles, in which many Ugandans served during World War II. An excellent student, Museveni graduated with a degree in political science and economics from the University of Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. There, he was mentored by leftist intellectuals and rubbed shoulders with revolutionaries such as Samora Machel of Mozambique and leaders of the African National Congress of South Africa. He returned to Uganda in the 1970s, burning with Marxist-Leninist ideals and a fierce desire to reform his homeland. But what he found was chaos. When Idi Amin staged a coup in 1971 and overthrew President Milton Obote, Uganda descended into tyranny. Amin's brutal rule led to the deaths of over 300 Ugandans. Museveni fled to Tanzania and joined anti-Amin exile groups, later becoming one of the commanders in the 1979 Tanzanian-Ugandan War that led to Amin's downfall. Uganda's dictator was ousted, but instead of peace, more chaos followed. The post-Amin years saw short-lived presidencies. Museveni, frustrated by the instability and rigged elections, made a fateful decision that would shape Uganda forever. After Milton Obote rigged the 1980 elections, Museveni announced that he would not stand by as democracy was murdered. He formed the National Resistance Army, NRA, and went to the bush in Luwero in 1981 with less than 30 men. What followed was a 5-year guerrilla war that shocked the world. Museveni and his rebels waged a tireless battle against a much larger Ugandan army. They fought in forests, moved with local communities, and used cunning guerrilla tactics. By January 26, 1986, Museveni's NRA stormed Kampala and overthrew General Tito Okello. At age 41, Museveni became president of Uganda, proclaiming, "This is not a mere change of guards, it is a fundamental change." Few knew how true and ironic that statement would become. Museveni's early rule brought renewed hope. He restored peace in most parts of Uganda, revived the collapsed economy, and promoted universal primary education. He banned political parties initially, ruling through a movement system designed to avoid ethnic divisions. Western leaders like Bill Clinton and Tony Blair hailed Museveni as part of a new generation of African leaders. He was praised for promoting HIV/AIDS awareness, liberalizing the economy, and giving women more opportunities. His government crushed insurgencies like the Holy Spirit movement and later battled Joseph Kony's LRA rebels in northern Uganda. For many, Museveni seemed like Africa's model president, a thinker, warrior, and reformer. But then, the hero's mask began to slip. As the new millennium approached, Ugandans expected Museveni to hand over power, but he didn't. In 2005, he abolished term limits from the constitution, just so he could run again in 2006. That shocked many, especially since he had once said that leaders who stay too long are the problem of Africa. The line between democracy and dictatorship began to blur. His critics like Dr. Kizza Besigye, who once served under him, now became his strongest opponents. Elections turned violent, media freedom shrunk, protesters were shot. Yet Museveni kept winning every 5 years. How? A mix of rural popularity, heavy state control, and accusations of rigging. Still, he remained unshaken, donning his iconic white-brimmed hat and walking stick, warning Ugandans against returning to chaotic days. If term limits were not enough, Museveni struck again in 2017, when Parliament removed the presidential age limit, allowing anyone over 75 to run. That paved the way for him to contest in 2021 at age 76. His main challenger was Robert Kyagulanyi, better known as Bobi Wine, a pop star turned opposition leader. Young, charismatic and bold, Bobi Wine galvanized Uganda's youth, calling Museveni a dictator who had overstayed. But Museveni, a master of military and political chess, unleashed security forces on protesters and opposition rallies. Bobi Wine was arrested multiple times. His supporters were jailed or killed. The internet was shut down during elections. Despite everything, Museveni was declared winner again. Now in 2025, Museveni has ruled Uganda for nearly 40 years longer than most Ugandans have been alive. He has survived coup attempts, rebel wars, global criticism, and internal dissent. He has outlived the presidents who once supported him. He has watched enemies become friends and friends become threats. To supporters, Museveni is a patriotic liberator who brought Uganda from the abyss of chaos. To critics, he's a power-hungry autocrat who betrayed the revolution he once led. He built roads, hospitals, and schools, yet rules with an iron hand. He talks of Pan-Africanism and economic transformation, yet jails journalists and activists. He claims to rule by the people's will, yet refuses to step aside. As he nears his 81st birthday, questions loom. Will Museveni anoint a successor? Will his son, Jenne Muhoozi Kainerugaba, take over? Will Uganda witness another uprising? Will Museveni go down as a visionary or a villain? He has defied age, illness, and opposition, but can he defy history? Because history often ends the same way for long-serving rulers, either in retirement, revolution, or a reluctant exit. Museveni once said, "No one can threaten me." But perhaps the real threat isn't the opposition, it's time itself.